Hello, I'm Dr. Lee Hildebrand, the Director of Lakeshore Psychology Services in Mequon, Wisconsin. I'm also a psychologist and a public speaker. And today on my YouTube channel, I want to address a topic that's become very near and dear to me as of late, and that is how can parents navigate an empty nest? In terms of our circumstances, we have 3 children, and our youngest just graduated about a week ago. So this has become very pertinent in our lives. And I also, in my years of practice, have had many experiences with parents who have walked through this phase and dealt with some of these characteristics that can happen. So today I want to talk about some of the feelings that accompany that. And then I also want to talk about 7 principles that can help as you're trying to adjust and move into that next chapter of having an empty nest. Now, in regard to the feelings, there can be a whole array of feelings that you may experience. I'll never forget when our first and oldest one left the house to go to college. I described it to friends this way, that I literally felt like I'd been hit by a Mack truck. There was just a sense of shock that occurred and like a void feeling, especially for those first few weeks while I was trying to adjust. And there are parents that experience this, and sometimes the grief can become so great that they actually have a term for it, which is an empty nest syndrome. And this is a situation where somebody is experiencing such great grief that might lead to depression, and they're having trouble functioning and moving forward in the day-to-day. If your feelings get this strong, it can make a lot of sense to get somebody on your team, like a competent mental health professional, to help you walk through that. For many of us, it also can have dual sets of feelings that seem somewhat contrasting. For example, you may feel extreme grief and sadness accompanied by enthusiasm and excitement about what this next chapter can hold. So this is individual for people. Depending on how they approach parenting and the other things that they've had in their lives during the process, they can experience an array of different feelings related to this transition to empty nest. So let me talk about some principles that might help you if you've recently have or you're seeking to transition into this chapter in your life as a parent. First of all, parenting never ends. It just changes. This is good news for many who really desire to continue to contribute and add value into their adult children's lives. This is a real opportunity as they continue to navigate circumstances in adulthood to be there for them, to be available if they reach out. And one thing that's important is there are times where it's going to need to be on their timing. They're going to be really moving into adulthood and living their own life. And boy, when they reach out, they're not always going to be able to adjust to our schedule. They're going to sometimes need some input right now. So we have to have that skill to be able to drop things and really listen to them when they need it. Second, be available, but don't intrude on their autonomy. All adult children really desire not to have their parents be intrusive or be in a situation where their parents are wanting to be in all of the details as it regards to their life. That can feel very oppressive and intrusive to them, so they don't want a helicopter mom or a helicopter dad in that kind of situation. I always recommend in the process of parenting, especially in those late teen years, to take a stepwise approach to, while you're stepping back a little bit in certain areas and giving them the ability to practice their own autonomy and individuation in situations. This involves a whole host of things, including teaching them and giving the opportunity to manage their money, to manage jobs and academic situation, advocacy with other adults and teachers, taking care of logistical items that they need to. The key here is really to do a gradual handoff of the baton. Being a former track runner myself, I like this analogy of the baton because when you are making that handoff in a relay race, it looks like it happens simultaneously. But there's a series of steps that happen to make this a gradual process so that it can be successful. As the runner with the baton approaches the next runner, they're reaching out with the baton and they're trying to run through at the consistent pace that they have. The other runner that's taking the baton has to get started running. They've got to start moving the momentum themselves as they're taking the baton. And then when they reach back, they have to make sure that they have the baton in their hands, and then the runner that's handing the baton off has to make sure that they have a grip before the other runner lets go of it for the lead runner that's now taking the baton to move forward. And this is the same thing with parenting and doing a smooth handoff. Parents that become overly involved and manage all situations and then get to some point and just let go find that their adult children do not have a successful transition. The same is the case if they are controlling all the way through and then they won't let go of the baton. Their adult children are in front of them trying to take the baton and they won't let go of it. This too can be a serious problem, and this can retard their growth in terms of becoming full-fledged and functioning adults. So what we want to do is a gradual handoff here. If we're successful, if we handle that well, we'll find our adult children to really be able to sprint out of the nest and have a good stride moving forward into the rest of their life. Number 3 is to build hobbies. Consider new ventures, or look at other areas of focus and growth that you're going to do with the time that you have. You're going to have some extra time in this phase that you used to dedicate to them. And you're going to want to be able to think about some creative and some purposeful ways. It might be a club, it might be a fitness group, it might be some kind of art that you want to pursue. It may be a new arm of your business that you're running. It may be looking at buying a second home and enjoying that in a warmer weather climate. So give yourself an idea to think about some new areas that you want to grow. Number 4 is, if you are married, look at how you can reconnect with your spouse. Once you reach the empty nest, it can be helpful to take a bit of an inventory and ask ourselves, how are we doing in terms of connecting emotionally and having a marriage that's mutually enjoyable for one another? And that can be a very healthy process of taking a pause and looking at where you're at in the relationship and where you'd like to go. Now, clearly, the scenario that you hope not to have is to look over at one another and find that you're complete strangers. Hopefully, you've been in a process of fostering that relationship so the kids aren't the only focus, so that you have some momentum yourself. If you find yourself in that situation where you feel a little bit of estranged, start making a purposeful plan together and talking about ways that you can start to maybe do some mutual hobbies together and find ways to move together in a conjoint direction in your lives so that you can enjoy the beauty of your relationship. Number 5, reconnect with old friends or reconnect with new friends. Really look to enjoy some social opportunities that maybe you didn't have a chance to because of the dedication and the time that you had to focus in regard to your children and their care and the many activities that they had. This could be a really nice opportunity to have some social experiences that are fun and meaningful and really enjoyable at this time, with plenty of freedom to do that. Number 6, you also want to take a look at the next 5 years and do some vision casting. Really take a look at where you want to be, how you want your life to progress, both in regard to your career, in regard to your marriage relationship if you're married, in regard to family, and where you want to live, what you want things to look like. This can be a really fun opportunity. You can have a bit of a blank canvas in some ways in regard to how you're going to paint the next picture in regard to this chapter of your life. And number 7 is refresh. Refresh your physical or your emotional and your spiritual health and self. You know, in modern terms, some people use the term glow up. And what that means is just to really focus on yourself and do some things to help you be your most vibrant. So take stock. Think about how you are in regard to your health, your nutrition. How are you doing emotionally in your relationships, whether it be in your marriage or other significant relationships? How are you doing in your relationship with yourself? How are you treating yourself? Are you attending to the needs that you have and being purposeful about fulfilling those so that you can feel fulfilled and you can feel some good energy in terms of the ways that you add value with other people? You know, take a look at your connection spiritually with God or other things that motivate you in that way. This can be a really exciting time to be able to do that. And of course, you can take stock of your living situation as well. Is your house too big at this point without many kids in it that you'd like to potentially downsize? Would you like to have a couple residences that you live in at this time? So these are the kinds of decisions that you're going to have the opportunity to look at. I just want to encourage you today to be intentional about this process and enjoy thinking about this as an opportunity. Don't think about this as much as an end of an era as you do as the beginning of a new era. If you continue to be consistent with your adult children, you're going to have opportunities to connect with them in beautiful and meaningful ways. And in addition to that, if you have grandchildren, there'll be a whole nother chapter of going through those baby years. And the beautiful thing is, to the degree that you want to or not, you get to go and enjoy that, and then at a certain time say, oh, okay, we're heading home. And you don't have to carry the consistency of the challenges of that all the time. You know what they say about grandma and grandpa? Grandma and grandpa get to spoil the kids, and then the parents have to deal with the day-to-day. So I hope that you found this time encouraging and helpful, as if you're potentially entering the empty nest chapter in your life, or it's something that might be upcoming for you. If you felt like this was helpful today, please feel free to like my video or subscribe to my channel. I do a whole host of videos on various topics related to thriving, being emotionally vibrant, mental health, and various other topics. So thanks for your time and have a great day.